Hey guys, it's your pal Victor here, and we just watched Black Widow, and we're excited, and we're going to talk about it right now. Hi, so we just saw Black Widow, and I have thoughts. Yeah, I enjoy this movie. It is a prequel, much in the same way that Fast 5, 6, and 7 are prequels to Fast 8, because of Han's death in Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. So this movie takes place ostensibly before Tony Stark gets the package from Stan Lee at the end of Captain America Civil War. That's where it takes place. It takes place basically 5 minutes 5 minutes before, the end of Civil War, which is a big gap of time. A little big gap of time that's also explained afterwards and a bit in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Anyway, so this, it's funny how this little time period can fit in this whole adventure, but here we are. And a lot of of this movie is basically exploring the backstory of Natasha in the Red Room, although kind of ignores a lot of what we knew from the Red Room in Avengers Age of Ultron. Like, Julie Delpy isn't in this movie, but the basic underpinnings are there. We find out the Red Room was actually controlled by a character played by Ray Winstone, Dreykov. And it's kind of his own private army. Rachel Weisz's character, Melina, and David Harbour's character, the Red Guardian, in the beginning of the film, they're kind of living in America. It's kind of like a The Americans kind of situation, if you've ever seen that show on FX. And they're raising these two kids who've been placed with them, Natasha and Yelena. For the most part, we find out they're like this place family unit, but they're running from S.H.I.E.L.D. and, they get separated at the end of this prologue, which leads them to Cuba. And Yelena's taken into the Red Room, which at this point, Natasha's also taken, but she's had some experience. And then we get a bit of time passing by. Time passes till we get to about the point of Civil War where we're at. And at the same time, it turns out Yelena's become a Black Widow. And she's trying to take out a target with some fellow Black Widows. This target sprays her with this potion, antidote. It turns out, as we kind of figured, Black Widows aren't acting of their own sort of accord. This potion in a vial kind of stops a mind control element of their training. So Yelena's free of her control for the first time, so she's trying to get this info to Natasha, who kind of, she's got her own shit to deal with. She's a fugitive, all that stuff. But on her way to leave, her current safe house, she does take this package, which just gets to her, and she's completely oblivious to it until she's attacked by a character called Taskmaster. Because this is a non-spoiler review, we're not really going to talk a lot about Taskmaster today. Safe to say, Taskmaster is a character who can mimic the fighting skills of any person that Taskmaster faces. And Taskmaster has already seen, or basically a perfect mimic, doesn't have to face them, just can see them fight and knows their style. So Taskmaster knows how to fight like Captain America, Hawkeye, Black Panther, And in a really cool sequence, we see Taskmaster perfectly mimic Natasha, and there's this really cool scene where Natasha's fighting Taskmaster, and through the reflective element of Taskmaster's visor, she sees her face in Taskmaster's visor as Taskmaster is perfectly mimicking Natasha. And once Natasha kind of gets away from Taskmaster, she tries to hunt down Yelena. They eventually team up, and they decide that this red room has to be taken down because Natasha thought she had taken them down, but unfortunately she was wrong. And now there's a mission here. She has to get help, and who better to try to get help from than Melina and the Red Guardian. So that's as much as I'm going to say. That's just basic plot setup, and this is like all happens in the first 20 minutes. I mean, they get into it. So here's my thoughts on it. The action sequences, this movie's directed by Kate Shortland, are really damn awesome. I mean, they're really good. They're really executed and well done. I will say, there's a lot of emotional beats in this movie, and it feels like they kind of zip through them. I feel like this movie, even though it's longer than 2 hours, really needed to breathe more. Like, because a lot of this movie is about unpacking emotional baggage, and I feel like characters start talking about it, and then action scene. Characters start talking about it, action scene. Maybe there needed to be less action scenes or something. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. I feel like there's just something about the pacing of this movie that's just like zipping and get through fight scenes. And the fight scenes are cool, so it's kind of hard to like knock the fight scenes, you know, or the action scenes rather. They're super cool. I will also say the action scenes and kind of plot structure of this movie, you know, even down sort of like the Taskmaster, are a lot like Captain America, the Winter Soldier. If you liked Captain America and the Winter Soldier a lot, you'll probably really like this movie. But, I mean, kind of even down to the climax, this movie is very, very, very similar to Captain America and the Winter Soldier. And I'm kind of like wondering, like, maybe somebody should have said, hey, maybe we need to kind of change things up a little bit. I don't know. I can't say that. And some people might not even, like, you know, you might have not seen Captain America and the Winter Soldier in a while. I mean, I'm not saying it's mirror image, but I am saying, yeah, it's pretty similar, and it's kind of, like, disappointing in a way. I also do think for a movie called Black Widow, and this is kind of the problem with this movie coming out where it is in its time cycle, it's like we're getting a lot of stuff we already know about Natasha, and I don't really think we really get anything new out of this. Like, I know, like, Yelena, who's played by Florence Pugh, who's awesome in this movie, wasn't around for Avengers 2 Age of Ultron, you know? So we do kind of get, you know, the stuff about the hysterectomy and, you know, the widow's made sterile, and it's kind of like we've heard all that before. This movie also really tries hard to kind of make becoming a widow very analogous to like sex trafficking, so that they can get kind of like a girl power, we're stopping sex trafficking kind of thing going on. I don't have a problem with that, you know? I mean, I recognize that, like, clearly they're making an analogy, and there's, like, a part in this movie near the end where, like, they go out of their way to make this analogy while really ripping RoboCop off really hard in terms of, like, just think Directive 4. That's all I'm saying. And it's, like, really obvious. And I'm like, oof, okay. Here's what it is. We've, you know, if you're at all into sci-fi or genre movies, at a certain point, you kind of get to a point where, like, oh, okay, people are just going to start referencing other movies that you've seen before. So I'm cool with, like, you know, a RoboCop reference at a point here where if you've seen that movie, you like get where it's coming from. But it's kind of weird, again, like I say, how strongly this hews to like the basic structure of Winter Soldier. That's kind of all I'm saying. It feels like I'm knocking this movie. It's a good movie. It really, really is a fun, good movie. But I think, like I said, a lot of the issues I have with this movie sort of feel like a lot of this movie is sort of spent setting up Florence Pugh's character for like a Disney Plus show versus being sort of like a send-off to like Natasha's character, because like you watch this movie and it really does feel like this is the last time we're seeing this character. So we know how she goes out at Endgame, and that kind of felt like a good send-off for her, and this kind of feels like, well, let's dust her off so we can introduce a replacement here. And you know, I can't help but feeling that. That's just my honest thought. I do think this movie's probably going to do really well. I also just really think this movie should have come out a lot sooner. But yeah, basically the movie's called Black Widow. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a Scarlett Johansson movie. I do think that some of the elements that the marketing and the filmmakers are kind of leaving undisclosed, especially in terms of the villains and who the villains are. I feel like those elements could be disclosed. I don't like mystery box movies. I sort of almost feel like this takes away from the movie a little bit, that you're kind of wondering about certain things as the movie's going on. Although I also kind of think this movie lays breadcrumbs so you can kind of figure out its mysteries kind of early, and then you're like, yeah, okay, I get it. That's kind of how I'm gonna that's all I'm kind of gonna say about the villains of this movie. I also this movie does have a post-credit scene. I have thoughts about this post-credit scene that I'll talk about in a spoiler review. Needless to say, I have thoughts. That's what I'm gonna say. I have thoughts that the week of the release of this movie, we'll do a spoiler video to kind of thaw those out a little bit. But yeah, as far as David Harbour in this movie as Red Guardian, he's awesome. I really like how Rachel Weisz plays her character, Melina. It's kind of really interesting. Like it's almost like this kind of like autistic savant kind of thing that's super cool. You know, I feel like people have certain assumptions about her character. I'll say just kind of throw those out because they're not what you think. And I will say also that, yeah, I think it's hard to say this is Scarlett Johansson's movie, but this is the best she's ever played Black Widow. So, like, she gives the character a swan song. But I also think it's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of like Florence Pugh and Scarlett Johansson's movie. You know, like, we're getting, you know, we're mining the emotional depth of Natasha's character, at the same time we're mining Yelena's, and kind of one influences the other, and in a cool way. If I wanted to be cynical, which I'm not, I do enjoy this movie, somebody could just reduce this movie to being the origin of Natasha's outfit in Infinity War, which literally that's kind of all on the surface level. It's almost pretty much all that it is. But I will say that's like a really reductive way of looking at it. I also kind of think this could have been a nice way to sort of have some other Avengers involved in this movie, but it's kind of doesn't go in that direction. You know, it is her movie, and I can get behind that. That's just kind of like a thing I might have liked to see, but hey, it's all good. They introduced this handler Natasha had all this time, this British guy, and he doesn't really do much. He almost feels like one of the British guys that helps Lara Croft in the Tomb Raider movies. But hey, it's cool. He helps her out with weapons and transportation, so that's all cool. It just kind of seems weird that we've never seen this guy up until now, but hey, it's a choice that works. Yeah, I almost feel like this is a part that could have been played by Jeremy Renner, but they went a different way with it, so it's all good. But yeah, overall, I'll say yeah, good, interesting, good movie. I like the characters introduced. The action scenes in this movie are awesome. And actually, like I said, the acting is really good, especially Florence Pugh and Scarlett Johansson. I think they're really good in this. I just kind of feel like this movie sort of needed to be edited in a different way, and I have some issues with the villains. They kind of lead to the bloated runtime of the movie. If it had been handled differently, there could have been room for more emotional stuff to kind of give a proper send-off for this character. But other than that, I'm gonna watch it again, and I'm interested to see where Yelena goes moving forward, because this movie clearly does seem to be building her up as the Black Widow moving forward from this point in time. So you got the basic gist of the movie. I've gone really out of my way not to spoil anything. We'll do a spoiler review close to this movie coming out. But yeah, that is Black Widow. Recommend it. I will give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. And yeah, check it out. It comes out on July 9th, and it's going to be in theaters and on Disney Plus in premium tier, I think. Yeah, the one where you Cruella, where you pay extra to see it, I think. Anyway, like I said, check the movie out. It's July 9th. I'd see it in theaters. If you can, try to see it on IMAX, because I think the action stuff definitely warrants it. Anyway, that's my thoughts, and I have a lot because we ran long. I really wanted to do this in 5 minutes. It's not possible. And I'll talk to you all later, and if you enjoy this review, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Talk to you later. Bye bye.